Mikey, my man. Thank you for coming on the Parables, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you for doing this, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Dude,
I'm stoked to be here.
Dude, I'm just happy you made it here safely because it is raining right now. And then, with that accident and stuff, but I'm just happy you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I made it. Yeah, we're good.
You're all good. Yeah. I mean, again, it's just, man, I appreciate guys like you because obviously I created this setup because I feel like it's a different experience, right? It's a little more intimate. I feel like I'm sure you could agree. When you encounter and have these meaningful conversations, they're just it's just a different experience.
Yeah,
you know what
sure.
I mean? So I always love to bring people here instead of doing it over at someone else's house. 'Cause I feel like we could definitely have a more meaningful conversation and go from there. But listen, man, dude, this is a milestone for the podcast, man, because you are my first professional athlete.
Oh, really?
So, dude, I appreciate you. Like I said, dude, like, you know what I mean? It's I feel truly humbled and blessed that you're here, man. And I honestly feel I may need to like just go buy another battery right now because I feel like you're doing so many things that we could talk forever, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
you got a lot of stuff going on with you, man. But I can't wait to dive into it. So I know you've done lots of different podcasts. You've told your story multiple times. I can assure you there's a lot of people who have yet to hear your story.
Cool.
But in addition to that, it's really about our conversation and anything that people can take away from our conversation to really, apply it to their life and make them the best version of them. Then, we're doing a good job.
Okay, I'm with it. I mean? Let's get it.
So, dude, so Mikey, let's you do go by Mikey, right? It's not Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's kind of start off kind of your upbringing. Obviously a professional skateboarder, kind of what brought you into that. And we'll go from there.
Okay, so I started skating, like, there wasn't much to it other than I saw a cool kid with a skateboard.
Okay.
And, like, I wanted to be cool, so I got a skateboard. It was that simple.
Yeah.
And so I started skating, and it was, like, prior to that, I would always do things to get super into them, right? Before skating, it was like I was into biking or I was into hockey. And when I get into something, it was, like, all-consuming. But it would only last like a short amount of time. Like I'd be a biker, I'm going to be a pro biker, I'm going to be the best. And then 4 months later, I never thought about it again. And that was the cycle I was on until skateboarding. And I don't know what it was in the beginning, but the second I started, the consumption and obsession of it never went away.
Just took over your world after?
Completely took over. And it really like changed, I think, what my life was going to become just because I was so consumed by it. I never wanted to let it go.
Around what age was it?
So I started skating when I was 13.
13, okay.
And it's funny, man. I started skating because I saw the cool kid with a skateboard, and I wanted to fit in, so I got a skateboard too. And all the guys that the reason why I got into skating ended up all quitting. And everything that they went off to go do, it was like I didn't even care anymore. This was my thing. I was never letting it go.
Yeah.
So that it was like that genuine, man. I was just like, yeah, this is cool. I'll try it.
Yeah. Where was your neighborhood? Like, where you would, do you have like a primary spot where people know you for where you used to skate, like a certain skate park or certain areas?
Yeah. So where I grew up is this city, Agora, which is like the neighboring city to Calabasas.
Okay.
I'm sure you heard of. And then I moved out to this town, Newbury Park. And that was like when I was in Agora, there weren't that many like good skaters. There was just like our group that skated.
Yeah.
When I moved to Newbury Park, it was the first time I experienced sponsored skaters. Like there was like this whole group of guys who were like unbelievable at skating.
So there's a community, basically.
There was a full community. I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, holy shit, these guys are like as good as the guys on the films.
Yeah.
And they all got free stuff. And that was like where I went, holy crap, like you could like do this.
That's where it really took over,
yeah,
right?
Because before then I didn't realize you could be a pro skater. Like I watched the guys in the videos, but that never seemed achievable. It seemed like they were on a different planet.
Yeah. So were there any so you got into skateboarding because you saw someone else skateboarding, and then from there just the rest is history, right? Was there any like skateboarding mentors that you had that kind of like you used to skate with? And
I mean, not really. There were people that I looked up to that were pros.
Yeah.
But I never had like the guy who was like the mentor that was like, okay, this is how you do this. It was too small to even have that.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, really what happened is I got to an age where I had to get a job.
Okay.
And I didn't want to stop skating. And to me, if I went and got a job, I couldn't skate as much. Right. And that's what like actually led me to try to figure out how to get free product and then ultimately get paid was the simple fact of me not wanting to work.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to get sponsors. I saw people with them, so I just like looked at what they did. So I made videos of me, sent them out to sponsors. I got callbacks eventually, and then I started getting free product.
Nice.
And so I'd have free products. So I wouldn't have to buy anything. I had leftovers that I could sell and make money. So I was like kind of on my own until I got to the age of having to graduate. I was going to graduate high school.
Yeah.
And my parents really wanted me to go to college. So that was like really the deciding factor for me. That was like, okay, I was getting free stuff. I wasn't a pro. My parents wanted me to go to college. I wasn't really ready to like stop skating. And so, I made a decision to try to get my sponsors to like actually pay me and like actually be a pro skateboarder.
Yeah, yeah. What did your parents think about? Like,
they're terrified of it. They did not want me to do it. Like, my parents were all good when I was just skating for fun.
Yeah.
Right. The second that like I wasn't going to go to school, that's when like they really started getting concerned. And at that age, it's different than it is now. Like the paradigm shifted, and you no longer have to go to school to succeed.
Yes, absolutely.
Back then, that was not the message that was told to us. Even me, I bought into it. I was like, look, if I don't go to college, I'm saying goodbye to what my life could look like.
Yeah, your
I
life is
truly
screwed,
believe
right?
that also.
Yeah.
You know, and they fully did. So like there was a part of me that was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I better figure out how to all the way do this.
And prove it to them.
Yeah. And prove it to myself. It was I had an idea of what I want. I wanted to be successful. Beyond me just being a pro skateboarder, I wanted to be successful. And part of me felt like I was saying goodbye to that by being a pro. Because I wasn't going to college.
Yeah.
You know, it was like it was kind of terrifying, but I just always figured, okay, whatever, I'll be a pro skateboarder for a few years and then I could go back to college. That was always my backup until like I started figuring out that you actually don't need to go to college.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Did you get a lot of bites when you started sending out those films and tapes?
No, I didn't. So I made about 40 tapes. This is VHS.
Wow.
So this is like way before social media and sending links. So I made 40 tapes. I sent it out to 40 different sponsors, and how I found their address is I would just look through the magazines, and anyone who had an ad, sometimes they would put their address.
Nice.
And that's who I sent it out to. I didn't care who the company was. I was just like, give me
Okay,
free
I was just going to
product.
ask you, did you like go through a selection or
It
something?
was seriously like whoever would give me free product, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I sent 40 tapes out and I didn't get one callback.
Wow.
Not one. And so I kind of was like, okay, crap, like I need to do a better video. So the kid who filmed me, I called him up. I was like, yo, we need to film another video. Filmed another 2-minute edit, made 40 more copies, sent them out, and this time I got 3 callbacks. So 3 out of the 40 people.
Wow. Dang.
It was actually 3 out of 80.
3. Okay. So you got the sponsorship. Did your parents after that kind of start turn? No. Still wasn't.
No. The point where my parents switched over and were like, holy crap, there's something here, is when I started making more money than them.
Gotcha.
That's when it was like, wait, what the hell's happening? You know, up until that point, it was just like, yeah, he rides a skateboard and like companies give him free product. They were so confused by it.
Yeah. It's something new to them, right? I would
Well,
imagine.
yeah, and skateboarding was small back then. It wasn't like it is now. Like the only people who skated were kind of like the outcasts. Like we weren't cool. We were like, everybody looked at us as like the drug addicts who were getting in trouble. It was just a different time.
Yeah.
You know?
What's can you describe, because there's some people out there that don't know like what an actual sponsorship is? Like what was that like actually back then from a skateboarding company?
Yeah, so basically, so companies would give certain individuals, kind of like influencers.
Okay.
Look at like pro athletes as influencers almost. A brand will see somebody who's influential, want to give them their product because there's people who look up to those people and think, okay, if that person's wearing this product, it's cool and it will incentivize me to go buy it. And so skate companies work the same way. They'd find kids that were good at skateboarding with the idea that if that kid is so good at skateboarding, all the other kids in that neighborhood look up to him and want to buy what he's wearing. So they give him free product.
Yeah.
Right. And then as you get bigger and build a following, then it was like you're just influencing more people on a bigger scale. And then companies will start paying to then advertise your name on their product.
So were they actually paying for you to attend events too, or were you kind of like touring or
no?
what?
So basically, yes and no. So what ended up happening is they pay you, so you paid a salary, and what that goes into is you basically going to events when they ask, you filming videos, but you didn't get paid to go to an event. It was just part of why you were paid.
Gotcha. And that I would imagine not yet. The pay was just okay,
It was very small in the beginning.
very small.
$800 a month.
$800 a month. Okay. Yeah, because like you said, it was still not big,
No.
like how it is today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about a little bit about skateboarding, because I actually, it's funny story. I used to skateboard.
Okay.
I broke my collarbone twice. I think trying to ollie like a deck,
Yeah.
and the rest is history. I don't skateboard.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know what
That's
I mean?
most people.
Yeah, yeah. But talk to me a little bit what skateboarding has done. Like, obviously it was your childhood, but playing a part in your life as far as like your identity, like, you know what I mean, and how some of the things you learned that may have taught you about life now, like life's principles or things like that.
Yes.
I mean, I actually, everything I see, like especially when it comes to sports or something like that, clearly it's an art.
Yeah.
People just think it's all talent, but it's really an art. There's a craft to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. So, gosh, where do I even begin with this? I think the first thing that skating introduced to me was really a different outlook on the world.
Okay.
Right? Like one of the early things that grabbed me about skating is I never looked at handrails as a skatable. I never looked at them as skatable. I just looked at them as a thing that you held as you walked downstairs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? And when I started skating and saw people skating on handrails, it was like, holy crap, like I'm looking at something that's different than how it was intended to be used.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And then I would see like gaps, and I look at the world now still as what I can skate. Mm-hmm. Even like grass hills that you can't skate, I look at it and go, gosh, if that was cement, I would fully skate that, right? So really what it did is it created a way for me to look at things outside of the box.
Yeah.
And really like that was a big thing that I moved into almost everything I do outside of skateboarding. Is it's like a fresh look to look at situations differently.
In a different perspective.
100%.
Wow.
So I would say that was probably the first thing I learned. Second was skating so hard. Mm-hmm. Like you experienced, right? You skated, you broke your collarbone trying to ollie up a curb, right?
Yeah.
It takes so long to get good at it.
Yeah.
And so, like, for example, a kickflip. That's when you flip your board one time, right? It took me 8 months of trying every single day for probably 4 hours a day to learn how to kickflip.
Wow.
Right? So really what it taught me was it doesn't matter how long it takes for you to do something. Mm-hmm. It just matters that you put in all that work to then achieve it. Mm-hmm. Right? So I got so comfortable in the idea that I'm going to fail more than I'm going to succeed.
Yeah.
And that is totally normal.
Yeah.
And so that was probably a big one that I moved on, that like I am not scared to mess up, and I'm not scared when things are hard. I just know that that's part of the plan and what it takes for me to finally land the trick, complete the sale, whatever it is that I'm doing. That's just what it takes to do.
Yeah, it's crazy how a different sport or a different like subject or a different industry, you can look at it and you can apply it to something totally different.
100%.
And that's why we talk about always about trying to be open, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we have conversations and things like that. So let's talk about, so you were sponsored by 3 companies, right? Was it
At
3?
that point, I had 3 sponsors.
Yeah, 3 sponsors. When was like kind of your big break, or when was like the next step in your career?
Yes.
And by the way, also, what defines a pro skater? Like, what makes you actually pro?
What makes you pro is when a company sells a skateboard with your name on it.
Nice. Okay.
That's like what officially makes you pro.
Uh-huh.
So you can get paid before that point.
Yeah.
A board sponsor will decide you're going to be pro. They start selling product with your name on it. And then if you have a shoe sponsor, same thing applies. They sell shoes with your name on it. Uh-huh. Basically, it's them selling your name.
Uh-huh. Is the shoe sponsor bigger?
The shoe sponsor is the biggest sponsor you can have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's weird in the skate world, boards are the most influential and the smallest company and the smallest paying company.
Yeah.
Like they're so small in terms of what you make.
Yeah.
Clothing sponsor is significant. A lot of people have drink sponsors, they're significant. But a shoe sponsor, so we would get paid a royalty per item sold.
Yeah.
Right? So on a board, we'd make $2 a board. Mm-hmm. And a shop might buy 2 of the boards out that month, right? With shoes, they would buy maybe 3 or 4 different colorways in multiple size runs. Yeah. And you'd make $5 a shoe. Mm-hmm. So the amount of units you were selling are so much greater that your royalties were like, they don't even compare.
Yeah. So like the quantity basically was a lot more.
Quantity and base salary was a lot more.
Yeah. So when you you went pro, you finally went pro with which company?
I turned pro for...
And what age?
I was 20, and it was for a company, Seek.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Weird, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, it wasn't the feeling I thought. I mean, I think for me, it was like I didn't set out to be a pro skateboarder because I wanted to be a pro skateboarder.
Okay.
I became a pro skateboarder because I didn't want to stop skating.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So there was a point that was really weird because skating is like, we're not flashy people. Now you're seeing some of the skaters change, but back then we weren't very loud. We didn't show. We were very like kind of like humbled people. We never thought about like, it wasn't about like showing off or bragging. And so when I got my name on a board, it was very uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah.
Because like I would see, like I'd be skating and holding my board with my name on it. It was like, I remember feeling like so corny.
Yeah?
I was like, dude, this is so
weird.
weird. Like I'm riding a board with my name on it. And then I'd see other kids ride it. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah. Obviously, so, you're obviously represented by a brand and then you're sponsored, you turn pro, right? Obviously, I mean, at that age, I'm sure you learned a lot, right? About representation, a little bit about branding, about your image.
Yeah.
Yeah. That play a bit kind of a...
When I really learned it, it wasn't even at that age. I got my first shoe at 23.
Okay.
And that's when I started really understanding it, because I started making like significant money.
Okay.
I was tripping on how much money I was making. I was making it all because my shoe was being sold. And so really what happened is I was like, how do I make more of this?
Yeah. Okay. Right? So now you're like, okay, now
I want to make more money.
Yeah.
And so I really started getting into the marketing of my shoe, the sales side of it, the marketing of myself and how I could reach more people that would in turn sell more shoes. And then I started kind of understanding the marketing and branding process more. Kind of like before then, dude, I was a kid who was getting paid. I was skating. I wasn't thinking about anything. Like, it was just like, this is the best thing ever. You know.
So when you became pro and you got your shoe, was that kind of the turning point as far as like when your parents again like realized like, okay, there's definitely something here, and for you too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in the fact of there was something here. The challenge is so I told you like my original idea was like I was just gonna skate for however long and then I'd go back to school.
Yeah.
Right. I no longer looked at it as that option. It wasn't like, okay, cool, I'll just go back to school. Now I was like, okay, no, there's actually something here, but I need to figure out how to use this into a stepping stone into the next thing.
So you scratched plan B, because plan B was go back to school.
Plan B was gone, but I needed to actually have a plan A.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it at that point. It was just be a pro skateboarder.
Yeah.
But being a pro skateboarder is not a long enough career. There's not long enough lifespan in a career for that to just be what you do.
You realized that at that age?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did, and really, like, I think it was because I never saw anyone else do it.
Okay.
Right? Like, there were no pros that we saw that had a life after skateboarding. And there was no social media, so it made it look even worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, when a pro wasn't a pro anymore, they really disappeared. You never saw them at all.
Yeah.
So that really, like, I think bought into or kind of, I created this idea that when your career ends, you die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's more or less what it was, is all these guys are disappearing. That means pain, and I don't want that.
That's awesome. So you realized that you needed like a plan A and then the stepping stone of what was next. But were there like other people that were trying to help you with that? Like they realized that was kind of like where your mind was at?
Well, yeah, but not skaters. Like,
okay,
what happened is, and I think it all came down to like those original ideas of like, if I'm going to be a pro skateboarder and not go to college, I'm saying goodbye to something.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to say goodbye to it. And so even when I had this breakthrough of like making money and going, okay, there's something I could do here, that concern was still always on my mind. And it was on my parents' mind also. Like even my dad, like he looked at like, recognized like, okay, you're making money, but like, what does this mean? Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? Right. And so really the big turning point for me was he introduced me to this guy, Randy, who was, he was my dad's wealth, managed all his money. Okay. Right. And he sits me into Randy's office and he was like, Randy, I need you to help my son. He's making all this money. I don't know how he's making it. Can you like work with him?
Yeah. Like guide him a little bit or.
Exactly. And so basically I'm in this meeting and Randy's looking at me going, dude, I've never heard of this before. Like a pro skater, you don't skate contests. You're making your money just by doing video parts of you skating in the streets.
Yeah.
This is crazy,
Yeah.
right? And so I was so different than his clients, right? His clients are typical, like, 35-year career. I'm going to save this much. I'm going to retire at 65. I'm going to pull from that, live, right? And so he was like, okay, dude, we need to like really come up with like a very customized strategy because you're so different than the guys I deal with. And just him saying that made me feel part of this plan at an early age. And he would ask me so many questions about what I was doing, how I was getting these deals, who was negotiating them, what the lifespan was, that like I was a part of this thing. And what it ended up doing was teaching me really financial literacy at a young age.
Yeah.
Right. And so really what he ended up becoming was more of a mentor to me than anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so really from, this was 22, I was introduced on how to live on a budget and how to live below my means and what investing meant and what investing in certain like cash flow dividends or real estate, what that did for me. And that's really what opened up my world to go, holy shit, this is actually achievable, right? Prior to this point, I thought, oh yeah, if I make $1 million, that's all. You make $1 million, you're good.
Yeah.
That's what I thought as a kid, right? I had no concept of what financial freedom actually was until I met Randy. And it was actually a much easier solution or a much easier process than I even knew about. Yeah. Right? And for anyone who's listening and doesn't understand how to be financially free, what it really means is that you're making more passive income. So you're making income not working that's greater than your expenses. That means you don't have to work anymore. You get to choose to work, right? I didn't understand that to that point until I started seeing my first dividend checks or returns on investment. And it was like, holy crap, this is my way out. I just needed that number to get bigger. And that happened at that age, and that was probably the most pivotal thing that maybe has ever happened to me.
Yeah. It sounds like he played a huge part, and he opened up your eyes.
Oh, massively. Oh, massively.
Where you're kind of like, damn, my money's working for me. It's
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I didn't. So I didn't understand it until I started seeing the returns.
Okay, so you had to see it.
I had to see it. Man. I had to see it. I was like, yeah, I get it. Like passive income, like this sounds cool. Like I could just invest into things, get my money to work. That's cool. Yeah. But like when I saw it, it was like that was when the light bulb went off. That was like, well, this is real. Like I could actually put my money into something and then get paid for that. Yes, dude, I need more of this. Yeah. Right. And so that really is what motivated me to stay on such a strict budget when I started making more money. Right. Because I started making pretty significant money. And my whole goal always, and it was a big part of him, was not increasing my lifestyle as my income increased.
Yeah. Very important.
It's so important. But if I wouldn't have experienced what that actually meant, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's like until you see the like fruits of your labor, whatever it is, that's when you truly understand like the importance of it. And I was like, yeah, dude, I like this idea. Like I want to be financially free. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So obviously, you're big, you're sponsored, you're making a significant amount of money. Was there kind of like a plan as far as, or maybe like an age, like by the time you reach this age that you knew that you were going to call it quits, or was there? Because I mean, you're getting all this guidance, and you already knew like you got to invest this money. You're on a budget. You got this financial literacy. Yeah. Was there kind of like was there like a plan looking back at it?
No. Yeah. Not in that sense, because what ended up happening is when I got into being a pro skateboarder, the industry was small. Right? Yeah. And then I was pro for a year, and that's when the industry exploded, became huge. Right? So when I got in, we were looking at guys skating for 5 to 6 years professionally. And then all of a sudden, it got longer and longer and longer to where it got really hard to gauge how long you could be a pro for. Yeah. So my original idea of like, I could be pro 5 years, then I was like, well, crap, maybe it could be 7. Yeah. And then maybe it could be 10.
It kept going.
And it ended up being 15.
Wow.
Right? So I didn't have a plan on when it was going to end, but how skateboarding works, and the only security and future that we have was when we'd sign a deal, it would be for a certain length of time. And so if I signed a shoe deal for 4 years, I was going to be a pro for 4 years. And so that's what I would always base it on. Okay, if this ends at 4 years, what's the position I'm in? Yeah. And then I would sign another one. Okay, I have 4 more deals, 4 more years. Yeah. And that was like really how it went for my entire career until it ended.
It seems like you took like one step at a time,
Yeah.
almost like as if like what were the terms and the deals and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have to do it that way, but yeah. That's how I did it.
Yeah. So with the investing, did it start? Because I know you got into real estate, right? When did you start looking into real estate, and how did you find that kind of love for real estate? Because you're
Yeah. It's great question. So basically, I think so my dad was not a real estate investor.
Yeah.
My dad was a photographer.
Yeah.
But my dad was really good with his money.
Yeah.
And my dad always had rental properties as we were growing up.
Yeah.
So I think seeing him do really well with money, seeing that he had rental properties that he did well in, from a young age, I just thought, okay, real estate works.
Yeah.
Right. And then what happened is Randy, the guy who I met with, my mentor, he in his firm created alternative investments, which were real estate funds.
Yeah.
And so he had created a fund and he brought it to me and basically gave me access to invest into it. Mm-hmm. At that age, I didn't know that was like a very exclusive thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Here you go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really where it started. And it wasn't that I had this love for real estate back then. I had seen it work.
Okay.
And then as I started seeing it work more and more, I just started feeling more comfortable in it. And then as I got older and started experiencing investing into other things, then the amount of comfort I had in real estate really grew.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you start getting in investing, you have to calculate risk into them.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And real estate to me is probably the best investment you can make. Absolutely. As far as risk to reward goes.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. Mm-hmm. I love the idea that I'm investing in a physical asset or a hard asset that historically has been proven over and over and over. And really, like, we always need a place to live. Yeah. Everyone always needs a place to live. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea that I don't see that being disrupted for a long time. Yeah. But yeah, I like it for a lot of reasons. But I really what it is I like that I can invest into something and start seeing a return right away. Yeah. It's so different than
other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, than other investments. Did you, again, skateboarding was still fairly, it just blew up though, right? You were a sponsor, and you were a pro. And then, like you said, you mentioned that you saw other skaters didn't have the plan B that we spoke about, right? Mm-hmm. Did you kind of almost feel, and I mean, maybe you were still at that young age, did you almost feel empowered to set an example? Or were there other skaters starting to ask you hey, what are you doing with your money?
No, to be totally honest with you, I felt embarrassed.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was quiet about it for a long time, which is very unfortunate. But basically, and you got to understand, skaters understand this. Skaters do not like success. They don't like when you plan to be successful. It's a very raw against establishment. You don't give a shit about anything but skating. Yeah. Right. And I was always so scared to talk about the fact that I was not only planning, but even had a desire to be successful. Yeah. That was you didn't talk about that. Yeah. If somebody's like, dude, I'm going to be a pro skateboarder, I'm going to be the biggest pro skateboarder out, I'm going to sell the most amount of shoes. I'm telling you, every single pro skater would look at that dude and be, you're a kook, you're not going to make it. Yeah. It was such a different world. So for me, I was quiet about it for too long. Yeah. And I think it's why now I feel so moved to really speak on it, is because I felt like I could have really helped a lot of people back then, and I didn't because of truly my insecurities of what my peers would think.
What people would think. And that's why you say you chose the word unfortunate. Yeah. It was unfortunate that you kind of held it for that long. Right?
Totally.
When did you start to dive into, so you were investing, obviously, you're still a pro. When did you start diving into different industries? Obviously skateboarding opened up that door, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so basically what happened was when I started getting into the process of how you sell shoes, right? Yeah. When I got my first shoe. Yeah. I wanted to be more involved than just a skater. Yeah. So I put together this whole plan of how I could help with the marketing, the design, and met with the president of the company.
Be involved,
with this whole rollout. Yeah. And I'm giving him my whole pitch, and I finish, I'm looking at him, and he goes, yeah, dude, I don't get it. Why don't you just go skate? You're a skater. What are you talking about? Yeah. Right? And I left the meeting so defeated, but really what it was is I knew my time was over there. Mm-hmm.
at that company.
At that time.
Yeah.
And so I got a call not that long after from a guy who was a friend of mine who was going to this company, Etnies shoe company, and he was basically hired to turn around their shoe program. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, hey, look, dude, I want you to be a part of it. And I was like, look, I am down, but I want to be a part of it. Yeah. I want to be part of the process. I want to bring people on. I want to help with it. Everything that I pitched to my last shoe sponsor, I want here.
It's like your creative side started to bloom a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah.
What didn't bloom was my inability to work with people.
Oh, okay.
Right? I was a pro skateboarder. It's all about me.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that, like, there's a certain way you talk and work.
Like colleagueship, collaboration.
Yeah, so I went in, honestly, I went in like I own the place. But like a very like authoritative own the place, right? I'm like looking at samples, I'm throwing in the trash can. This is shit. It was awful. I'm like embarrassed by it. It was awful. Yeah. Right? And so what I didn't realize at that time is I was just not good at it. But in my head, it was like, okay, look, these people don't understand my vision. This isn't my company. The only way I can do what I want to do is owning my own company. And through that experience is what led to me starting my own companies.
So you came to a realization that...
Yeah, I was just like, really what happened is I'm sitting here trying to like get these guys to like be better and change and really I was like, dude, why would they listen to me? Like I'm just a skater.
Yeah.
I don't own this company. I'm not their employer. Like why would they listen to me?
It sounds like skateboarding still at that time, they were definitely overlooked as far as their creativity and what they could offer.
100%.
And that's what it sounds like it was going on with you.
Yeah, right? And I was very bad at articulating what I wanted to do.
Yeah, explaining and kind of like selling your dream.
Like you can imagine, like you got these shoe designers who in there been there for a long time, and this punk kid comes in there talking about how shitty their designs are. Yeah. Working with designers, and I'll tell you straight up, this is their passion, right? Yeah. They put so much into design. Absolutely. Yeah. So you have to be sensitive to that. And talk in a way that doesn't put down their dream. Yeah, their work, their expertise. I didn't know that. There was no class. Yeah. It was like, no, this is bad. Do it again. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. But you know, I ended up realizing that you learned how hard it is as I moved forward. But it was really the fact that like I felt like what I wanted to do wouldn't get done unless I owned my own companies.
So you started your own company, which is what company was that?
So we started a craft brewery, which is called St. Archer.
St. Archer, okay.
And I started that with Paul Rodriguez, which is another pro skateboarder, childhood best friend of mine, and then Josh Landon, who was a surf filmmaker, and then moved into he was an agent or a manager of other surfers. Yeah. So us three set out to start a business, which was a whole different
journey. What did your buddy at Etnies think, like when you said, hey, you know, I want to start my own company, like I'm going to leave here?
Okay, so basically what happened is the guy who pulled me in ended up quitting.
Oh, okay.
And he ended up working for Paul Rodriguez, who I ended up starting St. Archer with.
Oh, that's
started
great.
Working for his company.
Yeah.
And then when he left, I was like, this is definitely over.
Yeah.
And I had gotten an offer at that point to ride for a shoe company called DC.
Yeah.
And so I knew I was going to DC. I was going to make more money at DC.
Big company, huge company. Yeah.
And it was like, I just felt like it was the perfect time. Yeah. We had an idea. I just signed this new deal. I had some type of like security in a sense. Mm-hmm. I felt like this was our moment to go for it. Yeah. So we went for it.
Yeah. How does a group of friends come up with the idea of just, hey, I want to start a beer company? You guys while sipping brews?
Okay, so I'll start with this. I am not the guy who like has this like master plan of everything I'm going to do in my life, and I can't tell you what I'm going to do at 40 or 50. Okay. Right? Everything that I've ever done has been some type of situation or experience that has sparked an idea, and I've just ran with it.
Sounds like spontaneous.
Always, yeah. Right?
I love that.
So how this happened is Josh, who's our partner in St. Archer, was shooting films at this point. Mm-hmm. And he had filmed all surf films. He wanted to do a skate film. So he got in contact with me from a mutual friend, wanted to build this whole film on me, and I didn't want to do it. Uh-huh. I kept telling him, I'm not doing this. You don't know anything about skating. I'm not doing this. And Josh is so good at like basically not giving up until he gets his way.
Yeah.
that finally I was like, fine, dude, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so we drive down to San Diego together. I met him for the first time in real life, driving down to San Diego to film this video. And we had become like best friends from Agora to San Diego. Yeah. We were just like bros.
Yeah.
And a lot of the conversation we were having in the car was about the industry, skate industry, surf industry. And so we're out there, we're filming, and I get a call from another friend of mine, Mike Mo, who wants to do a sunglass company. So he calls me, he's like, hey, dude, I want to do this sunglass company. I'm going to call it Glassy. Do you want to be a part of it?
Yeah.
And I was like, let me think about it. And so I hang up the phone. I'm with Josh. We're talking about business all day. Yeah. Josh, what do you think about sunglasses? And he was like, well, dude, it's cool, but like everyone does sunglasses in our world. It's like, yeah, it's so like expected.
In the skateboarding, surfing world. Yeah.
He's like, it's so expected. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that conversation led to us talking about all the things in our industry that are expected and what could be different.
Nice.
Right? And that leads all the way to us going to sleep. We're sharing a room. And I turn off the light. And like 2 minutes after the light's off, he goes, like, dude, like beer. Like, can you imagine like something like beer that'd be like so different? And I turn on the light. I'm like, beer? And he's like, yeah. This story, and I was just like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
No one's done that. Yeah. That is like, no one has done that in our world. And it was right at the time where craft beer was starting to make its way into like the mainstream world.
Yeah.
And we were just like, yeah, let's do this. So the next morning we abandon the film. We drive home and Josh goes, dude, who could we get? Like, call your friend P-Rod. Like, he was the only person we knew who like invested in companies.
Yeah.
Call your friend P-Rod. I'm like, all right. So we call Paul. He meets us in Agora at Starbucks. On our way back, we're doing a brewery. What? We're doing a brewery. Okay, I'm in. And so us three, this idea was born, and then we spent the next year pretty much figuring out what this meant and how to put it together.
And obviously, it sounds like it was definitely something new, and you guys had to learn
a ton. Our first and this happens, right? When you come up with an idea and then you end up launching it, it's rarely the same idea, right? It takes so many twists throughout the journey of getting it to creation.
It wasn't that picture perfect that you had back then. It was so
different, dude. Yeah. It was so different from like our first concept, how we were going to do it, the idea, the name. It completely changed.
So how did you guys? So that's interesting because obviously no one was doing it, at least in the skateboard world, as far as a beer. Was it kind of hard to kind of push it out there, or did it just catch on fire?
No, it caught on fire. So basically, what happened is we had to raise money to do it. We didn't have enough money ourselves to do it. So we're raising money and we're looking at budgets. We're looking at our marketing budget, right? I think like we originally set it for like $100,000 a year, which is like nothing. But we were like, holy crap, $100,000 is a lot of money, right? We didn't have a lot of money. We this was our first capital raise ever, right? So we were tight on budget. And we were like, holy crap, okay, well, wait. From all the people that we raised money from, it was a friends and family round pretty much. And a lot of the people were skaters and surfers, pro skaters and surfers. And this was right. There was no influencer marketing, but Instagram was like, we were starting to build a following on Instagram. Yeah. So we were just like, holy crap, what if we kill the budget, take the $100,000, remove it from the budget, and we market this thing on Instagram? Like, look at how many followers all of us have. Okay. Yeah, and I think like combined at this point, we had like 4 million followers. So we were just like, yo, let's just market it on Instagram. And at that point, it was like, we didn't know if it was going to work. It was so new. Yeah. And so that's what we did. We created this brand story, and we used all of our investors as ambassadors to tell the story of us all coming together to do it. We promoted it on Instagram, and it exploded. Wow. It was phenomenal timing. There was no influencer marketing. There was no skaters and surfers and snowboarders and artists that came together to create a brewery. Yeah. Right? And it just it caught like wildfire.
It just sounds like you guys came together, and then you guys just started creating content, and like that advertising organically just blew up.
It organically blew up. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. So we started promoting it before we opened doors. And then what happened is we ended up having like a worldwide demand. We didn't even have our first sample.
Oh, man.
And then so we ended up getting distribution before we had a sample, which is unheard of.
That's unheard of. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so it was dude, Instagram like changed our business.
How many years were you into the business until it got bought out? Because it did get bought out.
Yeah, we ended up selling it. We opened doors May of 2012, and we sold it October of 2015.
So about
3 years or something.
3 years, yeah. How did that feel, dude? To you and your team when it got sold? It got sold to, was it
Miller Course?
Miller, right? Miller?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was surreal. It was different. It was like being a pro skateboarder, right?
All over
the
again,
feeling
kinda?
of like what it was like to have a name with a board with my name on it. I expected it to be one way. It was totally different. That's how this was. It was totally different than I thought. Like when we ended up selling it, the first thing that hits you is like, holy shit, I just made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like that feeling was very different than I thought it was going to be. And then the follow-up feeling that was really challenging was selling a brand to somebody that now had control over it and didn't do it the way you wanted it to be done.
Was that hard?
Very hard. Really hard. Yeah. So there were two parts of it.
Yeah.
But as far as like look, we raised our money from our friends and family.
Yeah.
Like to like give them, I mean, it was a significant return.
Yeah, definitely.
Like to give them that type of money was by far one of the coolest feelings I've ever experienced.
Like the most rewarding, fulfilling. Like you return
unreal.
their money and a lot more money.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was unreal. Like, and dude, it was like, my dad invested, my father-in-law, my uncle, like my brother. I had family members invested in this thing, right? And like to see like how that like really made a huge impact in their life it was awesome.
Did you almost feel like, I'm sure your other partners too, they had family and friends too also that invested. Did you guys almost feel a little pressured to fulfill that?
Yeah. Probably Josh more than anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. So you guys sold the company and, you started to dive into other things. I think where I want to ask you, like, where do you find your inspiration? I know you kind of said like, hey, a lot of this stuff was like, it's really spontaneous. It just came and I just ran with it. But what kind of like goes through your head like, oh, this is dope. Like, I like this. Is there a certain inspiration that guides your choices and what you want to put your time and efforts into?
Yes, I have. Well, so if it's something I'm going to do, is a different thought process than something I'm going to invest in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. If it's strictly an investment, it really just comes down to if I think the person, if I like the idea, but beyond the idea, if I think the person that's bringing me the idea and is set to then go create the idea, if I feel like he's going to be able to go out and do it, I'm more investing in the person than the idea. But that's a different type of system. Yeah. For me to go do something, it's similar to what you talk about. Yeah. I have to be inspired by it, or I have to be consumed by it. Yeah. More than just like it's a good idea. It has to become a passion for me. Yeah. And how I am like with skating, I did really good with skating because I was obsessed with it. Yeah. So me being obsessed with it got 150% of my output into it. If I'm not into it, I'm like terrible. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. It's hard for me to give something 10% if I'm not into it.
I think a lot of people are like that, right?
Yeah. Probably. It's a challenge for me. Like even like talking to people, like this is a weakness of mine. If I'm not interested in what we're talking about, I'm so obvious that like I'm not.
You'll see it, right? You'll like.
Yeah, it's a challenge of mine. But if I'm into it, I am all the way in. Yeah. Like you can't break me. Yeah. That's real similar to how I am with whatever I'm doing. So with skating, I was all the way in. Yeah. With what I'm doing now, and that was a challenge to find what that next thing was for me. Like when skating ended and then became this, not to segue into it, but that was a whole different type of challenge. Like when you're passion driven, it's hard you can't just tell the thing to grab you. Yeah. Right? The thing has to find you and it's organic. Yeah. Which is scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it sounds like what I love, kind of what I'm hearing in your stories. Like you kind of went through like a lot of transitions.
A ton.
You're like, yeah, damn right. Ejay, right? So, okay. So you sold St. Archer's and then what else did you get into? Because I feel like you're into so many different things, and that's why I had to ask your question of what really drives you to get into these things.
So after St. Archer, the next thing that I was involved with, but this was just as an investor, was Villager.
Villager, okay.
So Villager is coconut water. We do a water, kids juice. It's a beverage brand.
Because everyone like, damn, Mikey is the beverage guy now.
I know, seriously, but for Villager, I am not involved. I'm just an investor.
Okay, gotcha.
So for that one, it was, dude, the people that are involved, I love. The investors or ambassadors, I love. It was a really good, I think, look and something I wanted to be a part of. But I didn't have to worry about the passion because my life wasn't going to be consumed by building this brand.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm involved in that from an investment standpoint. I was still skating. During that time, St. Archer sold. The board sponsor who I was sponsored by went out of business.
Okay.
And so I was still skating. I had no board sponsor. Going through this whole like entrepreneurial journey, it becomes really hard to go get another board sponsor when you've experienced what it's like to own your own brands.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I started a board brand, and it's a board and apparel brand called Sovereign. From there, I was still skating. My career officially ended 2 years after we sold St. Archer, 2017. And then that's where like the transition really began.
Yeah.
That's when it was like, I had this whole thing like kind of like working, and now it's not.
Yeah, yeah. When by the way, when you restock on those the Sovereign the Wolf decks, please put my name on the list. That thing is dope, man.
Thank you. That is like that's one of our best selling boards by far.
Yeah,
we get it and it goes.
Yeah, it goes. Yeah. So was that the time when you started to, because you made a lot of money, obviously, selling St. Archer, and then was that kind of the time where you felt like the entrepreneurial thing like really like took effect on your life, or was it kind of really before when Archer started, St. Archer?
It was before.
Okay.
It was before, but that's a great question.
Because it sounds like you're just going through these different transitions, and it's like almost a different path, almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, like, if you go all the way to the beginning, and it's funny how much this comes into like what I was told as a kid, the idea that you can't be successful without going to college, right? What I really thought is if I don't go to college, I can't even get in the door to have a good job that's actually going to pay me a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that message really kind of, I took with me this whole kind of journey. Really, I just felt like no one would ever hire me. And feeling that for so long, what I took it as is I just got to do everything myself.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of the beauty of skating, I think why it ended up grabbing me is, dude, that's how we are. Like, oh, I want to go do that trick. I'm going to go do that trick. I want it filmed this way. This is how I want it filmed. Like, you have so much control on what you're going out to do and produce that, like, that mixed with the idea that no one will ever hire me, I just always felt like it had to be me. And so it was like, okay, if we're going to do brewery, it's got to be me. If it's shoe sponsor, okay, it's got to be me that's going to like actually start the company to give me a shoe sponsor beyond my career, right? If I'm going to do, it was just this like, almost like, I don't even know how to explain it.
This is a powerful topic. I think what we're trying to get at here is like almost skateboarding. What skateboarding taught you is, or skateboarding has taught all skateboarders, like you need to empower yourself. You need to do it.
Yeah,
right.
100%. But you need to do it, but then there's a lot of lack in confidence that we can do it. That's the challenge of the skate industry is there's not that many people that we see go out and do it.
Yeah.
Right? This is the first time with social media that you're actually able to watch people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like a lot of it was me like really like learning these things about myself that were kind of holding me back.
Yeah. From
like a confidence standpoint. Like, yeah, I was going out and doing them, but like there was always this like thing at the back of my mind going, you can't be that big. You can't do it all the way. It was always like, I don't know. It was like skate mentality. Like we could do it inside a skate, but like going beyond that is
like almost like there was like a limit or ceiling of some
100%.
kind.
Yeah.
So and it seems now that so you got into the coconut water right company. What else were you getting into? Because I think you're starting to. From what I see, you're starting to get almost into like, almost seems like you're trying to push, trying to be a leader, trying to be a mentor kind of.
Yeah.
And I think you started another company, right?
Yeah. So basically my career ends officially.
Okay.
And you know how I told you that, we have security in knowing how long our contracts are?
Yeah.
So I had a deal that had almost 2 years left on it. Uh-huh. And so I get hurt before the 2 years.
Okay.
And I tore a ligament in my leg.
Okay.
And I was skating through it. I skated through it for almost a year. Mm-hmm. I told my sponsor I had 2 years left, and I'm like, hey, I hurt my leg. I could skate through it, or I could fix it. If I fix it, I'm gonna be out 6 months. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
If like I need to skate through it for the next 2 years, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, go fix it. You're out 6 months. Go fix it.
Uh-huh. Around what age was this?
This was 2016.
Okay.
End of 2016.
Wow, just
I had
recent.
surgery December 2016.
Wow, recent.
So I tell them that I have surgery. The next month I get a call. They found a loophole in my deal, canceled my deal overnight.
Damn.
I'm on the couch, can't walk, right?
Yeah.
Career ends, and I'm not prepared for my career ending emotionally.
Yeah. It's just almost, you got like T-boned. In a car
Totally.
accident. Yeah.
And you can imagine, like, dude, for me, I was like, okay, I could skate through this for 2 years, or like I'll fix it and then I could be a pro another year and a half. What this meant was I was never going to be a pro skateboarder again. I wasn't ever going to be able to make the recovery to skate the way I did.
Yeah.
That was it. Over.
Yeah.
Just like that one phone call.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it was like
How hard was that, man?
the hardest thing I ever dealt with, by far. Nothing in my life had been that hard. From not only that phone call, but the next 4 or 5 months that were to follow.
Yeah.
And then the next till current. It's like I've had so much growth, but I'm still working through what that was.
Yeah, figuring it out.
Totally. And so I found myself like, we sold St. Archer, lump sum of money, which was amazing. Put a huge chunk of it into real estate. Real estate was always my thing, right? Yeah. And so I did so much planning for the financial side.
Yeah.
I didn't know how hard it was going to be emotionally, and I didn't know how many issues I actually had until that happened. Like, dude, I thought I was like good. Like, I was super happy, never depressed, very confident in myself. All of a sudden, I met with like, I have no idea who I am. I realized that I felt love through people praising me, which I got from being a pro skateboarder or having follow, whatever you want to call it. So there were so many things I had to work through on top of what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like thankfully, and I understand how blessed I am, I didn't have to figure out how to go make money.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I'm passion driven.
Yeah.
I'm a person that has to have something that like I care about to then succeed. And I didn't know what that was. And that terrified me.
Yeah. How long did it take you to figure that out? What was next for you?
Oh gosh. So
because you said about 5 months is when you.
It took about 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
And dude, and that was a very aggressive 5 months of me like throwing darts at the board every single day, trying to come up with the ideas. It was like I was almost trying to mask the pain I felt by starting a new company that was going to become my identity.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like trying to come up with these ideas because I didn't want this pain anymore.
Yeah.
And none of them were good. It was
like I just want to get out of here. Just
that was it. And it was like, and it was really like back to like a conversation or experience created this idea. That's exactly what happened. 5 months in, I get a call from my friend Sean, who's another pro skateboarder, and he's just like checking in on me. He's like, dude, what's your deal? Are you okay?
He's like, what's going on
I
with
don't
you, bro?
see you, right? Yeah. And so like I was just really honest with him. I was just like, dude, honestly, man, like this is brutal. Like this is like shit. Yeah. And I just told him everything I was struggling with, and he was just like, look, dude, I don't want to take that from you. Like I can't even imagine how hard it is. But like, dude, think about how blessed you are. You have a wife, 2 kids, a home. You haven't talked about money once. Like, dude, I hope I'm in that position when my career ends.
Wow, big eye opener, right?
Huge eye opener. So I sit down, and it didn't happen right away. I feel like shit now.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like
like
a guy
shit
on my island. Right. And really, it really brought me back to like that original pain point of being so scared of what my life was going to look like. And thankfully, I had incredible guidance, had a mentor, and I was put in a position to then go out and create it so that I was, call it, safe when my career ended. I didn't want to see all my friends go through a transition that was not like mine, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, mine was hard.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how hard it would be if tomorrow I had to go, oh my God, I got to go get a job. I need to support my family.
Yeah.
That would have made this very close to unbearable.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I didn't want to see my friends go through that.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at like the last 15 years of my life and what really put me in these positions. And it was 2 things. The meeting with Randy and having him as a mentor that taught me about money, taught me about budget, taught me how to actually generate wealth.
The financial literacy and all
right?
that stuff, yeah.
And then from that point, the things I was putting my money to work in, and dude, I am a real estate guy. When you look at my portfolio, I am so heavy in real estate.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to do, was try to create not only an opportunity, but a place to like help these guys plan for their future.
Yeah.
And that's why I started that company. And it was a passion and pain point of a problem that I desperately want to solve.
And that's Commune.
That's Commune Capital.
Commune Capital.
Yeah. So that is what I do every single day. That is kind of my life.
Yeah.
I have another company called Ovni, which I do with a friend, Eric Bork, and it's funny, man. That one is that is Eric's passion.
Yeah.
How I am about Commune is how he is about Ovni. This is what he's wanted to do forever, and we've been such close friends for a long time. We've always wanted to do something together.
Yeah.
So we do that together. I help him in ways, but that is Eric's dream.
Yeah.
That he's definitely driving forward.
It sounds like this is a almost like an important lesson or a very important thing that happened in your life, because you started to almost like overthink and dwell and stress about, you didn't know what was going to happen in the future.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? You're like, what's next for me? And then you got that phone call, and it changed. It almost, would you agree that your mind kind of went back to, you know what, I don't have it figured out, but I'm going to figure it out. I got to start taking action and just go for it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, dude, for me, I felt like I was thrown into like the deep end and was forced to swim.
Yeah.
Right. It was like a fight or flight.
Yeah.
What happened throughout the journey is the realization that none of us are in control ever. And even though I wanted control, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so I started building confidence in myself that there are so many variables to my life that I am not going to be able to see. There's going to be trials, and I have the confidence now in the ability to work through those trials that I'm going to be okay on the other end. That's really was like the biggest transformation through this process was that notion.
It also sounds too like as if like you started to get into things that you maybe have a little more control of, right? Commune. Right?
Yeah.
Admin.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Man.
But it's like, dude, at the end of the day, I feel like I have as much control as I can. But like, dude, when you really think of it, it's like, how much control do we really have? Like,
sometimes
our life could be over after this conversation. Like, the ultimate control over our life is not ours.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like, if you go super macro, that's what it is. Like, do I still like the feeling of being in control? Of course.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What's we're going to be running out of time shortly. What I think one thing that's very important too that I'm hearing is everything was kind of spontaneous, like you said. You kind of just you went with it as soon as it came. If it inspired you want to be, it was driven, you go for it. Obviously, there's a lot of people, like even me, I suffered through this before this podcast came about, which obviously you could tell I'm passionate about. How do you think you were able to find passion in different things? Was it just something like a feeling? Like, obviously there's a lot of people out there who don't know. They're stuck maybe in their corporate job. They're lost, and they don't know what their passion is. They don't know what their purpose is. Yeah. What's are a few things you think? The
indicating factor of knowing?
Yeah.
For me, what it comes down to is if it's all I want to do, I go home, I'm thinking about it, I can't stop thinking about it, I would do it for free. That's your passion.
It sounds so cliche, right?
It does, but that's the truth, right? Yes, it's like it's like you could take it back to skating, right? I loved it. I would have done it if no one paid me. I did do it when no one paid me, right? But people sometimes think that, oh, well, yeah, that's your passion, but that can't be your career. It can, right? Now, fast forward. Well, dude, I love my life. I have so much fun every single day, and it is very different than skateboarding, right? Yeah. I'm in an office 70% of the time. I'm driving around, flying around in front of people. It's a totally different life. Yeah. But, dude, I don't care if I don't make $1 at it. I enjoy it. Yeah. I go home and I think about it. I find myself obsessing over it. Okay, that's a good indicator for me.
Yeah. So if somebody is obsessed with it, and maybe they could look and see like, okay, maybe I could make this into a career. That's a great indication.
100%. I think that's actually better that way. Like finding something you're like, dude, I want to do this every single day of my life. But you don't see it as a career. Figure out how to make it a career.
Yeah,
right? That's what I think.
Man, I love it. So I know you kind of said I might be sideswiping it with this question. I know you said you kind of don't know, like 40 years from now or 20 years from now or whatever, but what's next for you? Like, what's the legacy? I ask this with every guest I have because it's just everything's so different. Yeah. And, like you said, everything's been spontaneous. It's almost like, again, you go through so many transitions. I mean, what's the ideal, like, the rest of your years of like what you're trying to accomplish, the legacy that you're trying to build, the Mikey Taylor?
So basically, like really, it goes back to something you said about being a leader. Mm-hmm. I felt like I could have helped so much when I was younger and didn't, that I feel like I have a responsibility now to try and help as many kids that are coming up. It started off just wanting to do it in skating, but it's kind of becoming more than that. Mm-hmm. I want to help as many kids as possible from a young age start having the right mindset to what their future is going to look like. Mm-hmm. Like really what it comes down to is like we have a broken system, right? Absolutely. The school system's shit. Yeah. Middle school, high school, college, they don't teach anyone to succeed. You ask people about money, no one knows about money. Mm. They don't know anything about it, right? So it's like really what I want to do is use my platform to try and show, teach, inspire as many people as possible to change the outcome of their life through just having their eyes open to it. Yeah. You know? And then like, I think that's really what it comes down to. I just want to like show people that it could be done.
It could be done.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look, at the end of the day, like I am not like I'm a skater. I have a high school degree and I was a skater. There's nothing ultra special about me. Mm-hmm. I just did it. Yeah. And so if I could show as many people as possible that like there's nothing special. I mean, if I could do it, you could do it. Great.
You're normal. You're relatable.
Totally.
Right? You're not like a...
No, I'm not a genius by any means. Yeah. There's nothing about my brain or my smarts that has got me here. Mm-hmm. Right? So like I want people to have comfort in that. Like, holy shit, like, yeah, I'm just a regular guy like this dude. Yeah. I could do it. Yeah. You know?
Dude, I love it. So, Mikey, anything I could do to help that movement, clearly I'm trying to do that with this platform, with the podcast, but anything I could do to help you, you know, I'm here, man. And
I appreciate that.
I appreciate you being on the Parables. If you don't know, only legends sign this canvas. If you could grace this canvas, man, I appreciate you.
Of course.
Appreciate you so much. Guys, if you guys find inspiration in this podcast, Mikey Taylor, man, dude, I'm still in disbelief you're still here, man. But I'm trying to process it all. But anyway, if you guys find inspiration from this podcast, if you guys are listening, please tag us. You know, let us know that you're listening, you're watching, and you know, share it. Share it with somebody you know that could definitely impact and it could inspire. My website's up, guys. You know, it's always been about just listening and the support, no obligation, but if you guys do want to support my shop is up, shop.ejcruz.com, and I appreciate you guys. Mikey Taylor, dude, I appreciate you again, man.
Thank you, G.
Parables podcast with the legend Mikey Taylor. I appreciate you, brother. We are out of here. Thank you.